Robert Gutsche from Lancaster University in the UK. Thanks again for being with us, Robert. I mean, after weeks of protests and so much criticism of how Trump failed to send any real message of unity, he's only now invoking George Floyd's name and talking about defending peaceful protesters. Do you think voters, though, will see that as sincere?
Well, right now, what's pushing voters one way or the other is how they're able to get back to work or not due to COVID-19, and the discourse around race in the United States. Those two things are going to define the 2020 election and how well the candidates can come out and speak to those issues, and particularly how well Trump is able to speak to those issues. But listen, Donald Trump throwing pepper spray or tear gas or having officials throw that into crowds so he could walk across the street to a church a week ago certainly is not something that Americans are used to seeing. Paving the way for a president to walk in a street through tear gas. I don't know that any president's ever done something like that. But he's long been the law and order president. He's wanted to be the law and order president, and this is an opportunity for him to stand up and say, this is why Americans have guns. This is why I'm the president. I'm going to make sure we're safe. And he's speaking to the base when he's saying those things.
He really is. And I mean, that is now how he's going to start selling himself. I mean, that's at least my opinion, because, Robert, it's worked before in the past. Selling that tough on crime line has won elections for both Republicans and Democrats. So should we be a bit afraid of the fact that instilling fear in voters might become a pillar of this election and actually make things more difficult, the relationship even more difficult between the people and the police?
Well, certainly there is already a lot of fear when the president and the federal government allow for gun shops to stay open during the COVID crisis because those are essential businesses. That's saying something about American culture and in society. That is saying something about fear. They're not guns necessarily to go out and go hunting during COVID. It's to protect themselves during COVID. So there's constantly been a divide in the United States in recent years between Republicans and Democrats, and an entering of some independents. But that is becoming even more emotional. And now you have a pro-violence president, some would say, taking the side of police instead of sitting back and giving some reassuring comments or some positions of wrongdoing on the part of police who constantly across the country use military-grade weaponry against U.S. citizens. You'd expect the president to step back and say something like that, and he's not doing that. He's not looking at how military surplus has made its ways into community policing across the country since the war on terror.
But Robert, does he have to? Because we have to be honest here. Only a minority of people in the United States have an adverse relationship with the police. The vast majority of particularly white communities see the police as officer-friendly and something that actually is there for the purpose, of course, of keeping them safe, to protect and serve. It seems that Trump could be on the path towards really, again, playing to the majority white population in the United States and being able to kind of quash these protests and their goals by building on the fact that he believes law enforcement, law and order, being tough on crime and not reforming or defunding the police is the best way to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have an external war to fight. He doesn't have military firing into others someplace in the world. So he has to find a way to become that military president here at home. I mean, the silly thing for white people, and I'm certainly a white person, the silly thing is to think that the police are there to protect anybody. Certainly in the United States, we see that's not the case. There's a lot of instigation, and you're right, in Black and brown communities in particular. But the police and prosecutors and what they call the criminal justice system is something that we've seen over and over and over again, to be about the powerful, and to
Right.
be about the government wants to sanction as being correct in society. And that's the
Robert,
silly part.
quickly then, what do you think it will say to the African American community and even other minority communities if this president does win again?
Well, my own family is both from a white side and from a Hispanic side, and I have to say that there is a strong push within Hispanic populations in Miami, for instance, to push for Donald Trump. That he is the person who's going to make the country better and more prosperous. And so it comes down to the bottom line of who do we want in the White House to help us put food on the table and to get us to that next step of the American dream. And it's sad that a lot of the population is not going to look at the loss of African Americans or other U.S. blacks with the same compassion. It's everybody for themselves in the United States right now.
Right. Okay, Robert, we'll leave it there. Thank you again for that. We appreciate it.